Hey everyone, and welcome to my very first video. As a personal trainer and a huge bodybuilding fan, I've spent countless hours watching videos about my favorite athletes, and today I want to add my own take on one of the most intriguing figures in the sport, Nasser El Sonbaty. Much has been said about Nasser. To some, he was the professor, a brilliant mind in a world of brute strength, an uncrowned Mr. Olympia, and one of the first true mass monsters. He had this unique, almost quirky personality, incredibly intelligent, very sensitive, and often hilarious. But to others, he was arrogant, openly critical, and willing to push his body to dangerous extremes. They'd say he didn't really respect his competitors, even made fun of everyone. Some found him to be the kind of guy who would be smiling in your face and stab you in the back. Both views, in their own way, are partially true, but neither tells the full story of Nasser El Sonbaty. On March 20th, 2013, news broke that Nasser had passed away at just 47 years old, leaving behind so many unanswered questions. What happened? Who was this man? And why does his story still echo so powerfully in the halls of bodybuilding history? This is the story of Nasser El Sonbaty. Born in Stuttgart, Germany on October 15, 1965, Nasser was the son of an Egyptian father and a Yugoslavian mother from Bosnia. His family story was never simple. They had immigrated from Yugoslavia, a communist federation that would later dissolve in the early 1990s. Nasser grew up in a working-class family with two sisters and two brothers. Even as a child, he had a natural ability to think deeply and question the norms around him. He was intelligent, curious, and most importantly, honest. But life wasn't always easy. He struggled with his identity, trying to balance the expectations of three different cultures while facing societal prejudice. Interestingly, Nasser never intended on becoming a bodybuilder. It happened almost by accident. He only began lifting at the age of 17 to get his legs stronger for soccer. He started training around 83, 84, weighing about 85 kilos. That's roughly 187 pounds. Young Nasser never idealized anyone in bodybuilding, not even Arnold Schwarzenegger. In fact, he once famously said he never liked Arnold's physique, criticizing him for having weak legs, droopy shoulders, and a huge waist. Encouraged by peers who saw potential in his developing physique, Nasser eventually decided to test the waters of competitive bodybuilding. In 1985, he entered his first competition, placing 6th. Despite not winning, the judges told him he had the best abs among the junior contestants, which gave him the confidence and motivation to continue. At 22, he began using steroid, explaining that it was a natural progression for pro bodybuilding, stating, "Everybody does it, but no one says it." He wasn't embarrassed to admit it. At home, his mom always supported his choices, but his dad, an engineer at Mercedes-Benz, didn't like the sport. He saw bodybuilders as dumb, narcissistic, and viewed it as a waste of time, energy, and money. He was particularly concerned about Nasser's grades, often reminding him that lower academic qualifications meant people would boss him around. So education was always a top priority for Nasser. After high school, he attended the University of Augsburg in Germany for 7.5 years, studying history, sociology, and political science. During his university years, Nasser was also competing and struggling to earn his pro card. He didn't have anyone in Germany to teach him how to train or diet properly, nor did he have the money to afford it. To support himself financially, he had to work during semester breaks and even during the week. Studying, training, working, competing, and dieting all at the same time was incredibly difficult. It took immense willpower, energy, and persistence, not to mention the challenges of illegally accessing steroids at the time. In 1990, after 13 amateur shows, Nasser finally earned his IFBB Pro card. He competed in his first pro show at the Finland Grand Prix in Helsinki, placing 8th. He had won the Mr. Yugoslavia contest a couple of times before that. During this time, Nasser also married his girlfriend, Bridget. However, turning pro didn't lead to any immediate rewards. No money, no sponsor. Jerry Brainham, a longtime bodybuilding journalist, recalled meeting Nasser around 1990 at the Night of the Champions in New York. Nasser didn't even place. Jerry remembers Nasser telling him, "And within 3 years, I'm going to be one of the top professional bodybuilders in the world." Over this period, Nasser was traveling back and forth between Germany and the USA, facing significant financial struggles to keep up with bodybuilding. He urgently needed money and understood that to attract sponsors, he had to work even harder. He later said that the first couple of years as a pro were very difficult and he didn't place well. He even considered quitting bodybuilding in 1993 if he didn't qualify for the Olympia, after 4 years in the pro ranks. It took him 3 more years as a pro to finally earn a Mr. Olympia qualification. This came after placing third behind Flex Wheeler and Vince Taylor at the 1993 Germany Grand Prix, and then taking second at the 1994 Night of the Champions in New York City, his best professional placing at that point. He qualified in 93 but chose to wait for the Olympia to improve his physique, then qualified again in 94. In his first Olympia in 1994, Nasser came in a respectable 7th place, beating out legends like Andreas Munzer, Samir Bannout, and even a young Ronnie Coleman. Despite this, he still didn't get any contract offers. Competing against icons like Dorian Yates and Kevin Levrone made him realize he needed more than just size. He needed more than a good physique to get to the very top. Finally, after spending a couple more expensive months in California, Nasser got to talk to Joe Weider, who offered him a 1-year contract. Joe Weider was arguably the most helpful person in Nasser's bodybuilding career, and the only one who truly saw his potential. Receiving a Weider contract gave Nasser the opportunity to finally make the transition from living in Germany to California, allowing him to focus entirely on bodybuilding. He moved to Southern California, acknowledging that while California is a good place to train, California doesn't create a champion. You have to be a great bodybuilder before, and if you're a good bodybuilder, California will make out of you a better bodybuilder. And it paid off. Nasser's physical transformation into one of the largest bodybuilders of his time didn't happen overnight. Starting at 187 pounds, he gradually worked his way up to over 300 pounds in the off-season, with most of those gains occurring between 1994 and 1995. This was his breakthrough year. Everyone was in shock at the sheer mass he brought to the stage. He went from being an average bodybuilder to a true mass monster. Nasser went on to place in the top 3 in 5 out of 6 shows during his European tour. He then won his first major title at the 1995 Houston Pro, followed by a victory at the Night of Champions, which he considered the 3rd highest title in bodybuilding. His momentum didn't stop there. He placed 3rd at the 1995 Mr. Olympia, beating many experienced bodybuilders. Nasser's bodybuilding journey was finally paying off. Nasser's most memorable moment, and arguably the most controversial, came at the 1996 Mr. Olympia in Chicago. He placed 3rd once again, but Nasser looked absolutely out of this world. Many called it the best Nasser they had ever seen. He received a standing ovation from the fans who felt he was better than Sean Ray, who placed 2nd, and perhaps even deserved the win over Dorian Yates. Sean Ray, being much smaller than Nasser, seemed like a buffer between the two monsters, as one observer noted. But what followed was even worse. Nasser was disqualified due to the use of diuretics, losing his official placement and having to return his well-deserved prize money of $35,000, money he truly needed at the time. The bodybuilding world was in a panic about potential blood tests. Jerry Brainham recalled advising the Weiders to protect them from themselves. Regarding diuretic use, many competitors had issues, appearing lighter or not as hard. Dorian was hard but clearly downsized. Nasser, however, took the diuretics and said, "I don't care." There had been an agreement between the Pro League and athletes that if you didn't pass the test, you'd lose the money but keep your placing, with no public disclosure. Nasser, smart as he was, said, "I don't care about the money, I want to win the Mr. Olympia." But at the athletes' meeting, Wayne DeMille announced that the plan had changed. It would go public and athletes would lose both money and ranking. Nasser was outraged. Many believe that Sean Ray was placed between Dorian and Nasser on stage because no one was certain if Dorian would pass the test, but everyone was certain Nasser wouldn't. In the end, only Nasser failed the drug test. Nasser believed this was incredibly unfair, especially when comparing his situation to others like Jay Cutler, who had the same issue in 2001 but later had his placement and prize money returned by the IFBB. He was convinced that if he had a different name and background and wasn't as bold, things might have been different. The controversy surrounding Nasser reached a boiling point at the 1997 Mr. Olympia in Long Beach, California. Defending champion Dorian Yates was the favorite, but rumors had been circulating about his physical condition leading up to the show. Just 48 hours before the competition, Flex Wheeler, a strong contender, withdrew, claiming injury from a bizarre ninja attack. This opened the door for others, but no one truly anticipated the package Nasser would bring to the stage. That day, Nasser El Sonbaty was in the shape of his life. He was, by many accounts, quote-unquote, ripped to the bone. His back had developed even more. His separation and quality were incredible. His conditioning was insane. His muscles were round and full, and his waist was perfectly tapered. In stark contrast, Dorian Yates was visibly struggling. He had been battling serious arm injuries, including a torn bicep and triceps, as well as a torn hamstring and reportedly 2 quad tears. Many questioned whether he should have even been allowed to compete. His physique was off, his waist was larger than usual, his proportions were compromised, and his symmetry was lacking. Compared side by side, Nasser appeared to many to be the clear winner. He had better symmetry, a more proportional frame, tighter abs, and sharper details. It was argued that Nasser beat Dorian in almost every pose, from the front, the back, and the side. Some even called Dorian's front double bicep one of the worst poses of any Mr. Olympia winner in history. Nasser was the true mass monster that day, and his physique stood out in almost every way. Yet, when the results were announced and Dorian Yates was declared the winner, with Nasser placing second, the bodybuilding world erupted. Nasser himself was visibly shocked. The crowd's reaction made it clear that many felt Nasser had been robbed. Fans and experts alike believed that Nasser should have won that Olympia. Many still say to this day that he should have won easily. Nasser himself felt completely robbed. He questioned how Dorian could have won when he felt he had beaten him from the front, the side, and even the back, considering the shoulders and legs. The 1997 Mr. Olympia remains one of the most debated and controversial results in the history of the sport, solidifying Nasser El Sonbaty's legacy as the uncrowned Mr. Olympia for many. Nasser didn't back down. That boldness was a huge part of his personality. He had the weirdest personality. He could be two-faced, making fun of everybody, calling Sean Ray Chihuahua Ray and Dorian Backzilla. Yet he was also genuinely a good dude, the nicest guy, a jokester, and incredibly funny. He knew exactly how to find people's weaknesses, but he also had a sharp mind. If something seemed wrong, Nasser spoke up, whether about corruption or unfairness in bodybuilding. He earned the nickname The Professor due to his master's degree in political science, history, and sociology, his ability to speak 7 languages, and the fact that he always wore glasses, even in the gym. He was very technical and a data guy, with a photographic memory, remembering every detail of every conversation. Everyone loved Nasser, even his haters. He's remembered most often now for the many funny stories involving him. Despite the setbacks, Nasser kept pushing forward. He truly believed he could have won the Mr. Olympia title after Dorian's retirement. But then out of nowhere, Ronnie Coleman appeared, shocking everyone by taking the title. Nasser finished third again in 1998. He finally achieved one of the biggest victories of his career, winning the 1999 Arnold Classic. But it came too late. He always carried the bitterness of the missed Mr. Olympia opportunity and the sense of betrayal that never fully healed. Even though he continued competing, Nasser was never the same. He just couldn't beat the genetic freaks of that era. He felt his physique was somehow at the wrong time, at the wrong place. The passion that once fueled him was gone. His motivation faded, and his last shows felt more like a man doing a job he had grown to hate. Shortly after the 2001 Olympia, while guest posing in Germany, his wife called him and asked for a divorce. Documents later surfaced claiming domestic violence, though those charges were eventually dropped due to lack of evidence. Nasser's wife reportedly cleaned him out, taking everything. But even then, he didn't speak ill of her, acknowledging her efforts in his career. He was never about fancy cars or excessive wealth. He drove a beat-up Ford Probe, saying he didn't need fancy things. In 2003, Nasser suffered a staph infection in his shoulder, nearly costing him his life, requiring several operations. In late 2006, he underwent more surgeries in Germany, including removing birthmarks, fixing a hernia, and addressing scar tissue. For nearly 2 months, he was confined to bed at his parents' home, describing the experience as paralyzing and emotionally draining. He grew tired of the bodybuilding world, stating, "My mental development is just limited."
In 2013, during a visit to his sick father in Egypt, Nasser El Sonbaty died in his sleep on March 20th, 2013, at only 47 years old. The cause of his death remains a mystery. 3 main theories have emerged. Some close to him say his organs were failing and he was awaiting a kidney transplant. Others suggest his money problems and personal struggles led to his death, as he lost most of his wealth after his divorce and moved back to Egypt, even resorting to asking fans for money to spend time with him. And another theory points to complications from years of drug use. The sad truth is, we may never know the definitive answer. Nasser El Sonbaty was a complex man, a brilliant mind, a mass monster, and a competitor who left an indelible mark on bodybuilding. His story is a powerful reminder of the sacrifices, triumphs, and heartbreaks within the sport. He was, and always will be, the professor.